Welcome to the Empowered Lifestylers podcast, a movement and community designed to help you live your best life and reconnect you back to the things that really matter. Hey, it's Kate here with another episode of our Empowered Lifestylers podcast. Now, this has been a really big topic of conversation inside our community, and I wanted to bring it to light around how to navigate technology with intention for your family. When I think about growing up and, what technology was, it was pretty minimal. And so, for our children, my children, and the generations to come, it's a very different experience because they are exposed to it on so many different levels in the home, at school, when they're out and about. And so parenting in the digital age definitely comes with its own set of unique challenges that, we haven't yet had to experience before. We've got screens, we've got social media, constant notifications if we're not careful, and they can have us feeling disconnected from the very people that we love the most. But the good news is it is possible to embrace technology while fostering that deep connection and intention with your family. When my kids were little, my dad taught them something about fire. He said fire can be your best friend or your worst enemy. And just showing them the power of it is what you do with it that counts. And technology is exactly the same. It can be your best friend or it can be your worst enemy. And so what I want to do in this episode with you today is equip you with a plan to prioritize what matters most, feel empowered in this space so that you can bring technology into your family with intention so that it's not controlling how the family runs and operates, but you get to use it when it works for you. If you're not careful, it can be, and I've ever been out for a meal where you've seen a family sitting there at a dinner table and every one of them is on a device. The parents are on their own devices. They've got iPads to, keep the kids occupied so they can have a conversation. And it just is a really sad state to see that happening, and it's so often. We've got some pretty hard and fast rules in our family about how screens can and can't be used. But sometimes I get it. We kind of just go, oh my gosh, I'm tired. It's been a long day. Take this, watch that, and just give you a chance to catch your own breath. But if you're not careful, if you don't set these boundaries and guidelines for your family, technology will 100% take over. Now, it is an amazing gift. The reason that I can be speaking with you right now in your car, while you're driving, while you're out for a walk, whatever you might be up to, is because of technology. So one of the things that we're really mindful to teach our children is that it is an absolute gift. I mean, our ability to access information, education, inspiration, and like entertainment. There's so many beautiful things that comes with it. It's just getting it to a point that we have a healthy relationship with it, just like anything. And so you want to help your kids equip your children to navigate this tech with confidence. And so inside our book, I'm not sure if you've caught it just yet, but Creating Conscious Kids, we definitely dive deeper into this. And if you don't have a copy just yet, you can go to consciouskidsbook.com and grab your copy there. But our intention is to help create a calm and connected environment amongst a world of distraction, because the moment we step outside our four walls of our home, there's so many things pulling our attention as well as our children's as well. So I want to dive into some strategies that you can start with right now. The first thing that you want to do before addressing the technology is actually focus on connection. So you want to focus on connection with your children and look at how you can connect with your kids. And what I know to be true with each of our three children, they're now 12, 14, and 16, the way they like to connect is very, very different. They're each unique in their own set of values. And so what matters to one doesn't matter to another. And ultimately, our children, they all want to feel seen, heard, understood, and loved. So I want you to check in, firstly, as a parent to see, well, are we spending enough quality time together as a family unit? And are we spending enough quality time one-on-one with my child? Or is it dad and son? Is it mama and daughter? Is it whatever the combination you want it to look like? Check in with yourself first. And if the answer is no, good on you for being honest. You can then make a plan to change that. The second question you want to ask yourself is, how can I create moments where my kids feel truly present and valued? And one of the things that is, I think, really profound, funnily enough, my parents gave Anthony and myself this book when we first got engaged, and it was the 5 love languages. And that really transformed how we saw each other, how we communicated to each other, how we started to share and give and receive love. Because if you don't understand your partner or your children's love languages, you can be showing love and feeling like you're giving them all this quality time, all these things that you think is amazing, which might be how you like to feel loved, but they're picking up something completely different. So you might be speaking Japanese and they're wanting to speak Dutch, and it's just not working at all. So you want to make sure that you've taken the time to know the different love languages of your partner and your children, so that you can then create deliberately moments where they do feel present and valued. And so you want to spend a little bit of time on that. And so you might want to start small by creating this connection, or you might want to just dive into it. I mean, it could be like screen-free dinner time, which is 100% a rule in our home, or setting aside a few minutes each day to check in with your kids. It could be laying down and doing a colouring in, after they've done their homework, or when you pick them up from a sport or something like that, that you go to the park and have a little bit of time together before you go home to the family unit. So just looking at, what does that quality time look like? Is it family Friday movie night? Is it board games that you love to do? And once you've asked yourself this question, I want you to then, particularly if your kids are old enough to have a conversation with you, if you've got little 2 and 3-year-olds, it's a little bit different, but you'll observe asking them, what would you love to do more of? When you have fun with mum, with dad, with the family, what are some of the things that you've really enjoyed that we should put on the schedule more often? And let them tell you what matters most as well. So if you want to get more tools to foster this connection, we'd love you to get a copy of the book. We definitely have actionable steps in there to help your children feel grounded and loved and connected. But it starts with you, first of all, understanding what's important to them and then setting that vision for your family. So number 2, this is where you want to create collaborative boundaries. What do I mean by that? So rather than coming in with hard and fast, strict rules, involve your children in creating a family tech agreement, okay? And so this is where it's a conversation at the dinner table to say, hey, how do you guys feel if you try to talk to mum or dad and we're on our phone or we're distracted? How does that make you feel? And getting them to talk about that. Great. So how would you feel if we had some times where there was no device-free time as a family, so that we're all together and we're focused? Or, having time with them. How do you feel if you've been on screen for too long? How does your energy feel? How does your brain feel? How does your body feel? Getting them to connect in with that. And then setting healthy limits on gaming, if that's what they do, or watching YouTube, or if you allow them to be on social media. Creating that allowance with them versus just going, this is how it's going to be. Because when it's a conversation and a collaborative decision, it definitely is easier to enforce down the track if you need to. Even something like having a charging, like having a box that all of the devices go into at a certain time of the afternoon, for example, so that, everyone has come home, maybe they wanted to connect with a couple of friends or something like that. For our children, because we homeschool, when, all of their friends are maybe getting home from the bus or something like that, they want to be able to connect with their friends. I totally get that. And they're able to do that. But then when we kick into a certain time of the afternoon, it's like, right, everything's in the box away, and then we focus on the things that we've got planned for the afternoon. When kids feel like they're a part of the decision-making process, they're more likely to stick to the boundaries that you set together. Now, there's going to be some things that you are just going to make an executive decision for the family. I get it. But if it can be more of a conversation, and also for them to understand that a screen is a privilege. And so if they're not following through on helping out, or if there are tasks that you might have assigned them around the home, then that privilege can or will be taken away. And so that's where screen use, it's then become not a bargaining tool, but it's there as a privilege. And if it's being abused or other things aren't maybe being contributed to, then it can be a thing that can be paused, timed out when necessary. And if kids are a part of that decision-making process in the beginning, then it's way easier for you to come together on that as well. So, number 3, you want to equip them to thrive online. And if I look at myself, even with the awareness that I have around social media, around how, clickbait, how platforms just want us to stay on their platform for as long as possible, the next video. Children now, their attention span has become literally 3 seconds flick, 3 seconds flick. If you give them exposure to things like TikTok or Instagram or shorts, things like that, it is fascinating to me how quickly they can just go on to the next thing. And the system is designed to hold our attention because it wants us on there longer to be able to spend more money, to consume more things, to control. So what you want to be really clear on is setting a healthy boundary for what you and your family decide on of how they can be in the online space. So, for example, our daughter is obsessed with art. She's painting all the time. She's in a little art studio. She's making things. She's drawing. She's obsessed. And one of the beautiful things about social media is you can follow certain accounts and be inspired to create, to, do better, to learn how to start something from scratch. So it's a beautiful tool for that. Our son, one day I just heard the piano being played. I'm like, that's new. Where did that come from? And he'd watched a YouTube video, saw a how-to video on a particular song, learnt it, practiced it, and now plays beautifully. And if it wasn't for that technology, they wouldn't be able to really expand on those gifts unless we took them to a class or a tutor or something like that. So to have it at your fingertips is pretty amazing. However, there's certain things that you really want to come in and help guide your children. If there is accounts that are, not kind, they're not bringing joy, they're not bringing value, then that's what you want to help them remove. It's the constant conversation of not comparing yourself to somebody else, being inspired by what they might be doing, and then how can we apply it to our own life versus, they've got this many followers, they've got this many likes, and then being challenged with that as well. You also want to balance your kids' online time with real-world experiences. And so different families inside of our community have put together some really cool rules of the game inside their home that allow kids to earn screen time when they do other things. For example, when they read a book, when they do 30 minutes of reading, then they earn some screen time. When they've, been outside playing, then they can earn screen time credits. So it's things like that it's not an expectation, it's raining, I'm just going to hop on my screen. No, well, what could you do differently? Could you go build some Lego? Could you draw? Could you do a board game with your sister? Looking at different things that they can bring together. Can you help me make a loaf of bread? Can we get in the kitchen and bake some cupcakes? Whatever those things can be to bring life into their world, because there is such a world of variety available on a screen that can take them away from you. And if you're not careful, you can start to lose that beautiful connection that you want to have with your children as well. And so inside our community, we give other practical steps and exercises to kind of build that self-awareness. But there's some fantastic apps out there as well that you can set timeframes and limits or block certain applications, things that the kids can or can't download, so that you can really give them an environment that they can be in and feel, that they're safe, they're not exposed to things that they shouldn't be seeing. And you want them to be able to have a healthy relationship with technology. If we just cut it off, it's kind of like if you raise your kids and they've never had any sugar before and they've never had any sugar, and the next thing they go to a birthday party and there's sugar and sweets on the table, and they go overboard, and the next thing they end up sick or, crazy on a sugar high. Like, you want to help them have a healthy relationship rather than avoiding it altogether. Hopefully that makes sense. The next thing is a big one, and that is number 4, you want to lead by example. Your habits matter, And your kids watch what you do, not what you say. So you want to show your kids what it looks like to use technology with intention. For myself and Anthony, we run online business. So it took some time for me to get a healthy relationship with that for myself. I used to have certain notifications show up on my phone, and anything that would show up would almost take me out of the present moment that I was in at the time. And I would kind of treat anything like, oh, it's a notification, it's urgent, it's important, I got to go do it. Instead of just going, hang on a second, I'm here doing this, I'm with a friend, I'm with my kids, I'm, in a different mode I'm not in my office working on things. So I'm not going to allow other people's agenda and to-dos to show up for me and take me out of being present. So, for example, I don't have any notifications on my phone. My phone is always on silent. So if I'm with my kids, it's face down and away if I'm there with them, unless I'm in work mode and they know that that's happening. And so, hey, I've got a call coming up shortly I just need to go to. I just want you to let you know that, hey, I'm not playing games on my phone right now. There's something important happening in our business. This is the goal that we're working towards. And so that we tell them all of these things. This is the goal, and I've got something coming up. So in the next 10, 15 minutes, I might need to step away. I just want you to be aware of that and keeping it down. So if you take breaks regularly, if you have a tech-free Sunday and everyone, it's phones in the box, you guys are outside enjoying, life, and it's not about even capturing it. Sometimes I find, because our phones can be the video camera and also the camera, as well as all of this source of applications and devices, it can be really easy to, I'm just going to take my phone because I can take a photo. And that's great, but you can also be really distracted. So maybe there's even times where you can take a camera. Oh my gosh, take a camera on that family little outing and take photos there like that, instead of getting distracted because a notification might pop up, for example. And then also sharing with your kids your own struggles and wins when it comes to navigating the tech. Like, rather than just getting angry at them because they've been on there for too long, be like, hey, I get it. Yesterday I was watching something and I just got distracted. Is that how you're kind of feeling right now? Yeah, well, let's turn the phone off. Let's get outside. The best thing that we can do is move our body, is get in sunlight, is get some fresh air in our body, and show them that you are working on it as well, rather than coming down hard on them. Because I bet we all have moments that we could do better when it comes to that. But, by living what you teach, you're empowering your children to do the same. And they're watching you. They are watching everything that you do. Number 5, the last thing is celebrating offline joy. I think it's really important to, in this online world that we live in, it can be easy to feel like we need to broadcast everything that we do and that we need to capture everything that we do. And sometimes I look back at old photo albums of moments of time, of my high school years or in my early 20s. And it was just moments captured, and there's plenty of memories that come with that. But I didn't go to the concert and video the entire thing. I watched the concert. Yeah. Have you ever been to a concert or a live event, and people nowadays, they're not even in it. They're recording it and they're probably never going to go back and watch it. So I think it's really important. One of the antidotes to tech overwhelm is just having meaningful offline moments that you do not need to capture, that you don't need to tell everyone about. It could be just baking cookies or having a family picnic or having a fire in the backyard or cuddling on the couch for a story. It's these small acts of presence that can remind your kids that connection is about being together, not online. And while they will form beautiful friendships and relationships, for my children, some of their friendships, they have met online in different communities, and they're beautiful friendships. It's a very different world, I get it, but we can show kids that the magic is in human connection and with presence and intention. And so this is definitely how you can navigate technology with your family with intention and just building that empowered environment for your home. If you haven't got a copy of our Creating Conscious Kids book, I would love to invite you to go and do so. creatingconsciouskidsbook.com. I'll pop the link in the show notes for you. But this book is really filled with tools to guide your children and you towards finding their happy place and building that emotional resilience and thriving in a world of distractions, which is what we all want to be able to do. So give your family the gift of connection and empowerment. And I would love for you to just pick one of these 5 strategies that I've shared with you just now and just apply it today. You'll be amazed at how it starts the ball rolling to that healthy relationship with technology. As again, we can't get away from it. It's a part of the world we live in, but we can certainly change the relationship we have with it and how we get to use it instead of us being used by it. By being intentional and present and mindful, you can create a family culture that doesn't just survive in the digital age, but thrives in it. Let's raise empowered families together. Thanks so much for joining us for another Empowered Lifestylers podcast. We appreciate you. Now, if you felt some value in this content today, we would so love if you passed this episode on with a friend or a loved one who is in the parenting journey, navigating tech, wanting to be intentional and have beautiful relationships with their kids as well, so that we can pass that wisdom on and help more families live their best life together. Until next time, have a great day.